Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Electronic Arts presents a Crytek game or production, and this is Crysis Remastered versus Crysis, the original Crysis modded. So actually, this entire introduction video is not even in the Crysis Remaster. My guess is because it has Electronic Arts in the title's opening thing. Apparently the game's on Epic now, and you can't get it on EA's store for... I don't know what happened with that. I thought Crysis was an EA IP, but no, I guess Crytek technically owns it, but I thought they still were under EA. So what do I know? But anyways, I really like this video because it kind of showcases different options that you have with your armor. So it's showing strength mode. I believe it shows stealth mode, and also like your speed mode, and it also shows different kind of gameplay styles that you can do. So with your strength mode, you can jump higher onto rooftops, and you can also shoot the backs of the gas tanks and blow up your vehicles and stuff. And the armor mode, you know, is good for stopping bullets. It's a really cool effect. Gameplay isn't at all like this. You have to actually aim at your targets and stuff, but it's a very cool scene. I like this kind of stuff. I can't tell you how many times I try to recreate that in game. So yeah, he's gonna jump over the vehicle, shoot the gas tank in the back, blow everything up. It's so dope, man. It's so cool. It just kind of like gives you a little showcase. I kind of wish it was higher resolution. I think this is like either 1080p or 720p, might even. But yeah, so that's the original intro for Crysis. But we're gonna jump into the menus, and we're gonna take a look at the difference between the Crysis Remastered and the original Crysis. So your graphics settings are gonna be mostly the same. You have some new anti-aliasing options. So this is SMAA, which is an option I believe in Crysis 2 and 3. And then we also have ray tracing quality, but if you have your shaders set to medium or lower, it won't even let you enable them. And these are the settings I'm using on a 1080 Ti just to keep things stable at hopefully around 60 FPS. Sometimes it'll drop to like 45 FPS depending on the scene. But this is the original Crysis. We got more options here. Multiplayer, which no longer works. This is a mod selection. It is modded, but none of the mods are showing up here because I think it just depends on how you install them. And then we're going to look at some video settings. So we have, once we go to our graphics, let's see, we have MSAA, which is that anti-aliasing quality ×4. And we are playing at 1440p for both versions. And everything's custom here basically because of the mod that we're using. It has custom graphics settings. So custom config. And we're back to the Crysis Remaster. So we're going to look at look move. And you have different weapons options. So the weird thing about Crysis Remaster is that the controls are a little bit odd. I had to remap everything to match the original game, almost everything, and it's missing options for leaning left and right. And there's to switch between, in the original game, you can hit 1 to switch your pistol, 2 to switch your assault rifle, and in this one, 2 is to swap your fire modes, but I switched that to X because that's how it was in Crysis 2 and 3, I believe. And then 1 switches between your 2 primary weapons, or you can hold it and switch to melee or your pistol. And you have to move your mouse. It like brings up like a kind of like a radial wheel almost to select it. And it's not very user intuitive. But you can see we have a lot more options here. Some of this stuff is for multiplayer, like the open close map, PDA, scoreboard, objectives, buy ammo, voice chat. You even have options for quick save, which is not an option in this game. Once you go into single player, you'll actually have options to load specific saves, and you can't do that in the remaster. It's all checkpoints. They're just loading missions. And this, you also had options for a VTOL and a helicopter. I think the helicopter was for multiplayer only, but because this is a port of the 360 and PS3 games, we're actually missing the VTOL mission, so they took that out. But now we're back into some gameplay. We're just going to do a split screen. So on the left side, we have the Crysis Remaster, and on the right side, we have the original Crysis, but with mods.
The North Koreans have assumed control.
So you're gonna notice a little bit of a weird thing when these doors open. One of the cool things of this was one of the first games to do volumetric lighting, and so this is like their first showcase of it. But on the remaster, for whatever reason, it starts flickering whenever the door opens, like that. So I don't know if it's a graphics setting or what's going on there. I also had it timing differently. I think there's like a little bit of a delay when it's loading scenes. So I synced it to when it's a scene in the airplane. So you'll see that lines up pretty well, but the stuff outside of that does not line up very well. One of the differences is if you watch the Digital Foundry video, they talked about how the volumetric clouds are actually missing in the remaster version. So that's actually one of the things that's better in the original game. And you'll notice that I have there's motion blur on the airplane right now. I have motion blur just turned off. I usually don't play with motion blur, but they had it enabled through the mod for the original game.
Hey Nomad, you still with us?
Yeah, so you can see here it's like synced up now. I think it hitched right at the beginning of that, so that's why it was a little bit delayed before.
So let's use it. The North Koreans
and one of the mods that I really like about the original game is this nanosuit. It's like an HD nanosuit mod, and I think it actually looks a lot better, in my opinion, than the remaster. The remaster is supposed to be an 8K texture for the nanosuit, but actually I like the look of the original. It's got like the lights on it and stuff.
2 days ago, we picked up a
it's probably a little bit too crisp and clear, but I still enjoy
Someone
it.
down there wants to be found.
Raptor team, we're beginning approach. Stand by for green.
All right, gear up, masks on. Once we clear the plane, form up on me. Shoots on my mark.
Green in 5.
I do think one of the differences that they made is so if you've ever played like the Hunt Showdown, that's another CryEngine game from Crytek, and it has really good 3D positional audio, and I think they implemented that into this game as well.
See you guys at the LZ.
So I think that's one of the nice things that they've improved. But you can tell a lot of difference here in the LODs from the island. And also just the way like the island looks a lot greener in the remaster. There's a lot more LOD trees and stuff. And if you turn up the settings, obviously, if you like do the can it run Crysis mode, then it's just like full, like highest detail of everything that you can do. In the original game, you can see like little blinking lights moving around. Those are actually the aliens that you're gonna fight later in the game. Which one is right there?
My suit's gone. My damn suit is gone.
Excuse me.
Keep it together, kid. You're underwater.
So there's a little bit of a hitch right there in the remaster. Every checkpoint or something. There's like a lot of like micro stutters and stuff. So hopefully they can get that ironed out.
I'm okay. But my HUD's scrambled. What the hell was that?
They did change the way that water is rendered as well, and also the reflections in the water.
Aliens are all over the place. Check in.
So you'll notice here when we pick up this turtle in the original game that there's no shadow for the turtle, but if we pick it up in the new game, well, look, we actually have a shadow now. So that's fancy. And also the helicopter in the original game, like the blades of it are like animated weirdly. I don't know if that's, I think that's probably an issue with the mod. I don't think it did that in the vanilla game.
All right, your suit checks out. You're back online.
There's also different crosshairs as well. You can actually change your crosshairs in the game now,
Rendezvous with Jester and head to
so you can
Aztec's
choose different
location.
options.
Check your objectives display.
And in the original game, you could zoom in on the map, which is not an option in the new game. There's just more fidelity, more options for the original deal because it wasn't designed primarily to be used with like a controller. So it takes a lot more advantage of the fact that you're playing with a keyboard and mouse.
Careful, Nomad.
One of the weird differences is that crouch on the original game is hold, as it says there, and in the new game it's to toggle, and you have to press it really quickly. Otherwise, it just doesn't want to work. And then ADS in the new game is to hold, and it's toggle in the original game. It would be really nice to have options for if you want to toggle or not, and both for both crouching and ADSing. But we'll see if they update and give us that option. You can tell, like, so there's updated rock textures and stuff in the mod. So it's just it's different visuals. There's different shading on the trees and stuff. The shadowing is a lot, I would say it's probably a little bit harsher in the original game than it is in the remaster. The Savogi, the global illumination, does a lot to kind of help light up the ground and under the canopy. And if you looked in the plane earlier, you could see in like some of the corners it's actually lit better in the interior. So our buddy Aztec is getting murdered by the aliens, along with some KPA soldiers. Poor guy. The scene is a little bit of a meme between me and some friends. Just with like the dialogue and stuff. The game, it almost takes itself a little bit too seriously, but I don't know. I find it kind of endearing a little bit. It's like such a ridiculous like scenario, but it like
What the hell happened here?
plays it super straight. And there's some, you can see already there's like a branch that's blocking the dude's face in the remaster that wasn't in the original game. There's some like terrain differences, and you'll see it with some of the other corpses as well. And you can definitely tell a difference in between how the scenes are rendered with just the way the trees look and stuff here. And the lighting and the shadows.
I don't like this, man. Shit, son of a bitch.
Although, if you watch the Digital Foundry video, they talked about how the faces are rendered differently as well. Like the face in the original game is a lot more natural looking, especially in like terms of like skin tone and stuff.
Negative, sir. We have 4 dead Koreans, but there's no
It looks
way
okay at the
Aztec
beginning of the game, but like once you get into some like, I think it's just because the lighting is not bright enough, but once you get into like the daytime scenes with the characters, some of the faces just do not look good at all in the remaster. Especially like if you're looking at Psycho or some of the other like NPCs. And they changed the vaporization stuff. I believe that's probably because this is the port of the old PS3 and 360, so they probably just didn't have the resources to do all the like the fancy effects there. But I like the white effect. It makes it look like it's actually like burning it to like disintegrate itself, vaporize, as they say. So the armor abilities actually work differently in the remaster. They basically ported the armor from Crysis 2 and 3, and so for that one you hit Q to switch to armor mode or E to go to invisibility, whereas the original game you'll see you can still pull up the menu and individually choose. You can have the option where it works more like it does in the original game, in the original Crysis, but like so armor can take a lot more damage now, and speed actually has a lot more, it drains a lot slower, so you can use it to run a lot further in one go, which is kind of nice. And although honestly I think the game's a little bit easier in the remaster, to be perfectly honest, just because of that armor buff. Yeah, you can even see on the character model the difference between the hand models and stuff. But yes, so one of the issues with the original game is that it doesn't run well on Windows 10 or 64-bit platforms. So you'll occasionally get some crashing, which is what happened there. And obviously it's modded as well, so that doesn't help at all. But yeah, there's just basic issues, which is one of the nice things about this remaster is I was able to play through the entire thing without getting a single crash. So that was like, I felt a lot better to play. Whereas this one, I can play through like this entire mission and probably get 4 or 5 crashes in the original game. But that's just because of the operating system that I'm running on. And I think also because I'm running on AMD, an AMD CPU. I can't even launch the game on in the 32-bit mode. It has to be 64-bit. There's a little bit of a weird animation there when he's stuck in the water. But yeah, so if you crouch and even if you put on strength mode as well, it'll help you stabilize your weapon, and you'll get even more stabilization if you go prone. So that was our secondary objective for this mission, or for this map. There's a few of those that you'll run into. I really like the open world aspect, the fact that you can kind of go and approach it however you want. So we ended the original gameplay there so that you can kind of see. We're going to go back into this building. You can see a good example of that Sfogy global illumination implementation for this game, where it actually lights up the interior a lot better. We ran through this building in the original one in a earlier scene, so it's a lot darker. You can kind of go back and compare that if you want to. I apologize for the coughing and stuff. But so if you're able to take these guys out, usually they'll notice you and they'll shoot up a flare. And whenever they do that, this vehicle will drive up to your earlier position. But I was played past this point in the original Crysis as well. And this vehicle actually wasn't here. So there's a few differences, I think, just in terms of like AI like render distance or whatever. Not render, but like it doesn't like place the NPCs within a certain like radius, I believe. So they probably increased that radius. And yeah, this is gonna be, we're gonna get into a little bit of a last firefight here. We're not gonna finish it out, but yeah, that's a lot of the differences. You can kind of get an idea of what the remaster kind of improves upon and areas where it kind of falls short of the original game. It's very interesting. They still have a lot of bugs I say that they need to iron out. There's an issue where if you get in the gun turret of the Jeep that's over there, the one that we blew up earlier, if you try to ADS into it, it'll actually put you like in the middle of the gun, and it renders it very oddly. But I hope you all enjoyed this little comparison between the two games. I do like modding games in general. Hopefully we'll get some mods for the remaster at some point. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, and also check us out on Twitch. Just Journey John there as well. So see y'all. Bye bye.